Very happy now to be joined by the Reverend Vernon K. Walker, who is the Young Democrats of Massachusetts Policy Director. Reverend Walker, welcome back. We haven't talked in a while. How are you?
I'm trying to be as smooth as ice and twice as nice. It's good to be here with you and back again.
Yeah, man, I'm making a book of these things that you're telling me here. I know the elephant happy thing right now. I don't know. We're hanging in there. Oh man. Well, listen. Obviously, a lot's transpired since we talked. We talked just before the election.
Yes.
And so many things are so important right now. So many things are sort of out of whack politically and otherwise as well. But I want to start with your view of the election, what you, how you sort of look back on it and summarize it and how it affects the Young Dems of Massachusetts or wherever you want to go with this.
Yeah, well, I mean, thankfully, we have a new administration coming in, the Biden-Harris administration, to lead this country in a different direction and to demonstrate some national leadership that has been far too conspicuous and protruding in the midst of this pandemic and in the light of this pandemic. So we are looking forward to this new administration coming in, administration that believes in science, administration that will follow the facts and take facts over fiction, an administration that will look to unite people. So it's no secret that over 80 million people voted for President-elect Biden. And I think that the people are tired of the meanness and the mudslinging and the nastiness that we have seen demonstrated in our daily political lives and in our daily lives. And we see what is happening daily in regards to politics for the last 4 years. All this meanness and nastiness and mudslinging and, the President, Trump, fanning the flames of hatred and despair. So I think it's a sharp rebuke to him and his policies. And I think most people are ready to move on. Even though he's not ready to move on, him and his legal team are still challenging the validity of the results. But come January 20th, we're looking forward to seeing this new leadership implement the plans that they articulated that they would.
I got a call from the Republican National Committee just yesterday. That would be Wednesday of this week. We're recording this on Thursday. And it was saying something to the effect that we have to overturn the election here in Massachusetts. And it just absolutely stunned me. And I want to know how long this can continue. And the great divide, Reverend Walker, it seems, we talked about unifying. We talked about talking across the aisle and so on before the election. And good grief, it almost seems worse than ever now.
Sure. I mean, these are certainly last-ditch efforts by the Republican Party to try to keep Trump in power. But at the end of the day, our democracy works best when the vast majority of votes are heard, and our democracy works best when votes are counted. And it's interesting that the Republican, particularly the Trump administration and the Republicans that are backing him, want to overturn millions of votes, and they're claiming fraud, they're claiming illegality, but the reality of it is that it's all smoke and mirrors. So, December 14th, which is 4 days from now, the electors will go, and the Electoral College will certify President-elect Biden as the next president of the United States. And, I think Trump just has to deal with that reality. Now, he doesn't want to deal with that reality, but the fact of the matter is the moment calls for strong national leadership, and President Trump hasn't been able to deliver that. And for the cronies that are backing him and his agenda, shame on them, because they're putting their own personal agenda above what America needs right now.
One of the things I read recently, I think it was this week, is comparing 2020 to 1968. Now, you're too young to remember 1968, but I remember it. I was actually in the National Guard a couple of years later, and '68 was just a pivotal year in American history for so many reasons,
Hmm.
including assassination, riots, so many things.
Hmm.
This seems, and what they were comparing it with was obviously the racial divide, the political divide, but also the fact that we're in the midst of a real climate crisis here. And I know that you're very much involved in that, and I wonder what your view might be with respect to the new administration coming in, and maybe some of the things you think could possibly happen.
Yes. For those that don't know, I have the privilege of serving as a program manager over the communities responding to extreme weather. And we prepare communities across the Commonwealth in Massachusetts for extreme weather that is coming and that is here as a result of climate change, such as extreme heat, um, flooding, sea level rise, etc. And we will prepare communities through education, service, and planning. If you would like to learn more about what we do at Crew, please check out www.climatecrew.org. Also, I have the privilege of sitting on the executive committee at the Sierra Club, Sierra of Massachusetts, and Sierra Club has 64 chapters nationally. And what we must understand is that what the Biden-Harris administration will do is roll back a lot of bad policies that Trump has implemented, such as these acts have happened under his administration. Protections weakened for 35 million acres of public land, 150 million Americans living in counties with unhealthy ozone or particle pollution. 50 EPA programs are cut in Trump's 2021 budget, and most detrimentally, pulling out of the Paris Accord Agreement, which, for those who don't know, the Paris Accord Agreement is an agreement among nations to reduce their carbon emission and keep their carbon emission to a certain level. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful that this administration, the new incoming administration, will roll back all of Trump's bad policies related to the environment, and also even push for a Green New Deal. Um, so, the reality of it is that, President Trump has declared climate change a hoax. He has declared it as, in so many words, asinine and silly. But the fact of the matter is, we see more extreme heat. The last 4 years have been some of the hottest summers in human history. We've seen more storms and floods, and this is undeniable. Even for those who are climate deniers, the reality of it is that you can't deny these extreme weather. For an example, Hurricane Katrina is a result of extreme weather. Hurricane Katrina is an extreme weather event, the hurricane that hit New Orleans in 2005, but it's a result of climate change. When we look at Hurricane Sandy in 2012, a result of climate change. When we look at the 1995 Chicago heat wave that killed 739 people, a result of climate change. So the reality of it is that we need to act now, or it's going to become more costly and drastic for human beings to adapt to these challenging weather conditions as the years go by.
Well, I'm with you on that one.
Mhm.
Having studied this for so long, and it's whether or not you agree on the cause of it, the fact of it is it's happening, and it's happened throughout the epochs of the history of the planet. And so we'll keep our eye on that, and I'm just hoping that things get better quickly here.
Mhm.
Reverend
Mhm.
Walker, this is special time of year, and people had to, and I think in Massachusetts, which brings up another question, but in Massachusetts, people pretty much obeyed or took to the stay-at-home suggestion on Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
And I know here in Cape Ann, people did. And it was a tough pill to swallow, but it turned out okay. We're all right. And the same thing is supposed to happen here now during Hanukkah and Christmas and so on. And it's going to be, again, it's going to be a sacrifice, but in my opinion, it's worth it. But there are so many people right now due to COVID and other reasons on top of other things that need help. And when this thing started back in March and April, people were really swift to help out. And I'm wondering if that's continuing now. And certainly it has to be a focus, I would think, this time of year, especially. But it's something that goes on. I know in Boston, you're involved in several different caring factors and organizations, and it's so important year round.
Yeah, I think we should just follow the science. It's been a tough year. I wasn't able to travel like I normally do for Thanksgiving, and for the sake of public health and the sake of acknowledging this pandemic that we are living in, and the cases are going up. So, I just encourage people to follow the science. This is not going to last forever. It's interesting, Rick, that President-elect Biden has committed to asking people to wear a mask his first 100 days. The first 100 days of the administration, and there is a vaccine out. It's slowly being rolled out, but I don't know if you saw, but Governor Baker, he released a plan of who should get the vaccine here in Massachusetts, in 3 different phases. So I think we're making progress. We got to just keep on pushing through, and to echo the president-elect's, we got to just continue to hold on. This won't last forever, and we're in this together. We're in this together because we realize that this thing started in Wuhan, China, and has traveled across the world and has impacted every continent, every color, every race. But we're in this together, and if we don't realize that we are in this together, then unfortunately more and more people will succumb to the deadliness of the virus. But I think we just have to recognize that wearing a mask when you're outside is important, not for your own health, if not for your own health, but for the health of your neighbor. And I think we have to look at it as that we are all tied in the inescapable garment of mutuality, and what affects one directly affects us all indirectly. So we just have to continue to realize and recognize that we're in this together, and let us follow the advice of the CDC.
I'm astounded that people across the country are actually becoming violent about being asked to wear a mask. That just messes with my head. Being an educator, and the fact that so many people do not or will not take the vaccine, it's scary, and it's one of those things that I just wonder. I don't know who's going to write the history about 2020, because it just how that became a political football. I don't understand, and how that's. And I need to talk, I guess, to some Republicans about this, because I don't understand how that violates my First Amendment rights, and I certainly don't see how it violates my Second Amendment rights by being asked to wear a mask. It's just, for God's sakes, it's so simple and so easy.
Absolutely, I certainly agree. The simple, clear cut, and it's proven to be effective if we follow the guidelines.
Yeah. Okay, final thoughts, Reverend Walker. I mean, it is the Christmas season. There are a lot of things that we can be thankful for. I think there's going to be a lot of good that comes out of this eventually. There'll be some things that I think we'll look back on and say, yeah, we can use that. We can do that came from the virus, and hopefully it will be lessons learned. But what are some thoughts for you in Christmas season in terms of sort of looking back on the year, looking ahead? What are some final thoughts?
Well, we certainly do need a redo of 2020.
Yeah.
We need a redo, and we need a redo and a reboot. So, I think we have to just continue to press forward. A new year is coming, and let us be mindful that we are in this together. And hopefully coming out on the other side of this pandemic, we can create some new norms. I hear people say, they just want to go back to normal, how things was. Well, how things was in our society included racial injustice, how things was included environmental injustice, how things was included indigenous injustice, and Black and brown bodies being devalued. Well, how about we have an opportunity to create some new norms, and let this pandemic teach us a lesson that we are all essential in some form or fashion, and let us redefine what essential workers are, because obviously I don't think many people thought that grocery worker, folks working at the grocery store were essential until this pandemic came.
I'll just say amen to that, and thank you very much. We'll talk again soon.
That sounds good. Thank you, Rick. Always a pleasure.